A huge gift to Americans after Michelle Obama selfishly took it from everyone. The transfer of power from one party to another with a new president is always a happy day for those who voted for the new guy. All the hopes and dreams of his party are hung on the newly minted president and all those campaign promises that he ran on. A lot of the time though, that stuff never actually happens. In many cases, those empty promises are left unfulfilled and the people just get angry. That hasn't been the case with President Trump during his first 7 months in office. He has been able to get an incredible amount done toward keeping his campaign promises, not the least of which is cutting spending. Given, the guy that he's being compared to didn't give him a whole lot of competition in the getting things done department. However, he's not letting that slow him down. The mammoth beast of a budget that the Obamas had created for White House staff was one of the first things to go. All of the fat was trimmed in short order, and instead of throwing a hissy fit, the way our former First Lady probably would have done, his wife Melania leaned into it and took the First Lady's staff down from 24, under Michelle, to just 5. That's about 1/5 of what her predecessor had, and she's still getting more done. But is the mainstream media praising her? No, they're too worried about whether she's smiling enough or if she's holding the president's hand at the right time. Via the American Bacon. The liberal media threw a fit earlier this year when Melania Trump decided to stay in Trump Tower in New York City for a few months so that Barron could finish his school year. However, they are now staying silent about the fact that Melania is doing something huge to save American taxpayers money, and it puts Michelle Obama to shame. According to a report published by a private organization that tracks government spending, Open the Books reveals that Melania Trump has saved more money with her staff than Michelle Obama did as the First Lady. Melania has 19 fewer staffers dedicated to her office than Michelle did in the White House. Mrs. Trump has 5 staffers versus the 24 staffers who served Michelle Obama, reports Inquisitor. Melania could have 24 staffers, like Michelle, but part of the Trump plan was to streamline the White House staff, which under the Obamas had become a bloated bureaucracy. Michelle was such a prima donna that she employed numerous staffers, including schedulers, directors, planners, associates, social and press secretaries, and other assistants. So, how much is Melania saving taxpayers? Approximately $5.1 million a year, but that's not all. Overall, the Trump White House is saving a total of $22 million. President Trump's leaner White House payroll, as reported by Forbes, is saving taxpayers $22 million overall. This information is verified by the fact that the current salaries for White House employees was made public on Friday. Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, and Jared Kushner are taking a total salary of $0, according to Inquisitor. Since Melania Trump has lived the life of a very rich woman in her adult years, especially after marrying Donald Trump, common sense would suggest that she'd be the one who would go in for the lavish spending, but that's just not so. On the other hand, Michelle Obama's previous home was in Chicago, and while it was a beautiful house in an upscale neighborhood, it was far from the digs of the Oprah and Richard Branson set, who were two people the Obamas loved to hobnob with on their lavish vacations. While one would think, given their histories, Michelle would expect fewer luxuries, her 8 years as the First Lady proved that's not the case, either. We have to remember that Melania Trump grew up in a communist country. She grew up poor and watched her parents be very frugal with what little money they earned. Melania grew up with humble roots in Sevnica, Slovenia, where she was known as Melania Geneves and lived in communist-style apartment housing that overlooked the river and smoking factory chimneys, Associated Press reports. Now, you won't be hearing from the mainstream media about Melania giving back $5 million to taxpayers each year after Michelle had been spending on her personal friends, hiring them as her staff during her 8 years as the First Lady. Even if Melania only stays in the White House for 4 years, that's $20 million she's saving the American taxpayers. It just goes to show you the character of Melania. No one would have questioned if she, like Michelle, hired 24 staffers. But, She knows Americans are hurting economically and that we elected her husband to help bring wealth and jobs back to America. When Michelle Obama said we go high, we might have given her too much credit, assuming she wasn't talking about spending money. It turns out that she and her husband mostly like to get their high, spending our money on ridiculous things, making themselves look good, and it didn't take much to outshine them. Thankfully, the new First Lady has some class and she is taking care to be judicious with the taxpayer money that she's been entrusted with. Just think, if Melania spends the same amount of time in the White House that Michelle did, we will be saving over $40 million just in salaries. That's not even counting all the other extravagant expenses. That plus the fact that we get to look at her instead of the lady she replaced makes it sound like a pretty good deal to me. Thank you for watching. What do you think about this?